Talking on camera is weird. I feel like I'm talking to myself and people are looking at me funny. And just like Ticlectic said, as soon as you turn on the camera, it feels like you lose 50 IQ points. Talking to a camera is really weird. I feel like nope, I don't like that. And ain't that the truth? So in this video, we're talking about how to be comfortable and confident on camera, because when you do, you save so much time. You save so much time in shooting and then reshooting and then editing out all of those mistakes, and that's just gone. And you're so much more comfortable. And we're actually using the foot method, because you know what? When you use this method, you're not gonna be putting your foot in your mouth. What's happening? I'm Sam DeZeo, spelled exactly like it sounds. At least in the handle, that is. And trust me, I get it. Talking on camera it is really weird. It can be really weird. It is weird. But the reality is, if you don't take these 4 principles that we're gonna talk about in this video to heart, what's gonna happen is 2 things. First of all, it's gonna take you a whole lot more time. And when it takes you more time, ultimately you just put out less content, therefore you're slowing down the reach of reaching a new audience and expanding your message. Secondly, when you don't have confidence on camera, that shows. And you might be very good at what you are talking about and what you're doing. But when you start talking about it, when the camera is rolling and you're not confident, it almost seems like you might be a little unreliable or unexperienced. And the tough thing is that actually might not be the case at all. And for me, I actually haven't always struggled being on camera until recently, which is kind of weird. But when I was a kid, I loved being on camera. I always made a bunch of goofy little videos and I was always in them. But as I grew up, I actually started caring a little bit more about what people thought about me. And what I noticed was I was actually making more mistakes. All of a sudden, it was like I was terrified of being on camera, and I don't even know where that came from. But until I put these 4 steps into practice, that continued. So let's talk about those. The first one is the letter F in the F.O.O.T method. And F stands for forgive yourself, but push yourself. The reality is you're gonna mess up. So just accept that, move on, mess up, and just forget about it. Even in this video alone, I'm constantly making mistakes or tripping over my own words, but I almost don't even think about it anymore. And for me, I actually haven't always struggled being on camera, and I mess up and then I just do that sentence over again. I know I'm gonna cut it out in editing, so what's the point in overthinking it? I know what I wanna say, it's just sometimes hard to articulate when you know you've gotta get it right on camera, which I totally understand, by the way. But then there's the other side of this, right? Like, we know we need to forgive ourselves and give ourselves a little bit of grace when we mess up, because the reality is we're going to, but we also need to push ourselves to try to be better. Because the thing is, we all know what we want to say. It's in our head. We just gotta figure out how to get it out and figure out how to articulate it. And articulating thoughts is really a lot like just this muscle in our mind that we're able to work out and get better over time. So one way to push yourself is just to say, okay, this is the message I want to get across. Let's just try to go a stretch of time where I just get all of my thoughts out. It's really just a matter of giving yourself like a personal challenge. Like, I'm going to get this whole monologue thought out in one take. And if you don't, it's okay. That's where the forgive yourself comes in. But just try to push yourself. I'm gonna get this whole chunk in one take. Because if we don't have both parts, the forgive and push yourself, really you just become self-reliant on the whole forgive yourself part. And then you're still continuing to waste time in editing because you make so many mistakes and you're okay with it. You're just forgiving yourself and you're doing it again and again. Push yourself to be better, but also forgive yourself when you fall. The second point in the F.O.O.T method is to own it. Own your mistakes, own yourself, and own your weird, wacky personality. You might be kind of an awkward person. And honestly, I am too. Mostly like in big social situations when there's a lot of people. Well, on camera, if you're awkward, just own it. Be that awkward person. You know what makes a person more awkward? Is when they're trying so hard not to be awkward. And what's actually so ironic about this video in particular is that you really shouldn't care about being comfortable on camera. You really, in all honesty, should not care about being uncomfortable on camera. When people own their awkwardness and they embrace it and they're like, this is who I am, I'm awkward, get over it. People will eat that up. Just own it. All right, so let's talk about the third letter, the second O in the word foot, which stands for one person, because that's all you're talking to. It's just one person that you're talking to. And the reality is your video might get 10 views. It might get 100 views. It might get 10,000 views. But as you're creating your video, you should think of one person that you're talking to, and that should be your target audience on your channel. Who is that ideal viewer on your channel? And really flesh that out. Like, who are they? Where do they come from? What kind of things does that person value? If it's someone watching your channel, it's probably someone very similar to you. So think of that person as a friend, and you're just sitting down having a conversation with this person. Like right now, it's just you and I hanging out, having some coffee, or maybe you're having coffee. I don't like coffee, so I'll have my sweet tea or my chocolate milk or whatever. But ultimately, we're just hanging out, and I'm telling you what I'm passionate about. And if you're watching this, you're probably passionate about it as well. And it really just takes the pressure off, because I'm not thinking in my head that I'm talking to a crowd of 1 million people, because really, I'm just talking to one person, my friend, which is you. And today's video is brought to you by the letter T. And T is the big one, because this is the letter that takes the attention off of you and onto the viewer. This is where we start really caring about the viewer. What T stands for is transformation support. So we're asking ourselves now, what supports the transformation? When someone watches your video, they want to get from point A to point B, but they're either trying to learn something, or you can even teach them something if it's just being entertained. What's the theme? What's the story? What's the point behind the entire video? What points do I need to make? What does that viewer have to know in order to get from point A to point B? But also, what stories are really going to resonate with the person watching? What personal stories can I tell to really illustrate a point? And what about quotes? Like, what really powerful quotes are there around the topic that you're talking about? Think about your content as like a recipe, where all these different kinds of elements come together to make a really great and delicious video. And look, this channel is all about helping creators spread their message, and being confident on camera is just one of them. There's a lot of different ways to spread your message, so go ahead and click this video right here for more videos just like this. Or you can click this video right here for watching videos of me being super awkward back in the day. And I don't know, maybe it'll help you feel better about yourself, because it's pretty bad.